With this particular slide, I wanted to help you guys with a couple of things, okay? And what that's going to be is that I want you to be able to look at the data and say, okay, this is where it could go. This is the other way it probably won't go. Um, I do have in here for you guys, for anybody that is interested in gambling, I do have the odds in here for you for the money lines and spreads and on player props and things like that. Again, it's not a betting channel. We're just having fun looking at sports, talking about the data, talking about who can win, who's going to lose, who's going to blow out, who's going to be an upset, those type of things. Okay. Um, so with that being said, I want you to look at this information, and that way you can understand uh, how the data looks, because on other documents that I have that I'll share with you guys, and again, spreadsheet sports, I made all this stuff up from scratch, all the different models. Everything is scraped from various reliable sources for the data. Then once the data comes in, then I'm stretching it, flipping it. I am using all types of different formulas, whether it's regression, law of averages, other algorithms that I won't tell you about. Take into consideration a lot of different factors like injuries and how that's going to affect everybody. The wins versus the losses, whether or not they're going to be better off. Are they coming in with a better record than the team they're playing, or are they coming in with a winning record? Sometimes there might not be a winning record, but it's better than who they're playing. Example of that would be Colgate versus Lehigh. Colgate is not have a winning season, but it's better than who they're playing. They're better than Lehigh. These are things that you can take into consideration, because when we talk about this in the next video, about money lines and about spreads, it will all make sense. But for the sake of example, the other colors that are going to be important to you are going to be in the team column. If I'm thinking that a team has a chance to win, then they are some type of color in that team column. You take the information, do with it what you want to do with it. I love to hear feedback, and in the comment section that tells me about what you think, because you could be right, I could be wrong, I could be right, you could be wrong, we could both be right, we could both be wrong. You don't know. There's a quote I had heard a long time ago that said, in the world of sports betting, everybody is right and everybody is wrong. So with that being said, I want you to consider that there's like alternate realities when it comes to how these games can go. And that's for baseball, soccer, football, tennis, boxing, doesn't matter. We don't have a monopoly on the truth of the game. Nobody really knows, unless you do have an actual time machine, which I doubt anybody does. But to my point, we can speculate when we're looking at this particular information. But as I go through this, what I always will do is I'll put the cards in the comment section for now. As the channel grows, and I'll change how I do that. Maybe I'll have it on the website or something like that. But yeah, spreadsheet sports. This is how I look at the games. This is all of the games. I'm going to show you how I'm drilling down on the money lines, who's going to win, who's going to lose. And then we'll look at who can get the spread or who might get a spread, who's not. Things like that. Again, not a betting channel. You look at the information, you do with it what you would like to do. And but it ultimately, I'm a guy on the internet talking about the games and how I think they may or may not go, and what may be some opportunities for some advantages for us that are reviewing this data. All right. For the money lines, which obviously that, if those of you are on here and you're not aware of what that term means, money line is just all about who's going to win, who's going to lose. Okay. Again, I can't stress enough, I'm not a betting channel. It's just literally, we're talking about the games. The people that I was able to pull out of the information was several teams. We got a lot of games today, but this is who I think may have a really good shot. Um, Out of the blues at the very top, out of those blues, I like Alabama, North Texas, and Northern Colorado. Okay. Um, this section here makes more sense for you whenever you understand the previous slide I showed you where you see all of the games and you see how it's broken down. That's the reason I showed you that first, just so you can have an idea of how I see things, how I'm thinking. But the reason that I like those three out of the blues is just mainly because I like that they're coming in with a better season than who they're playing. Although they don't have, I mean, only North Texas and Northern Colorado have a winning season and a better season. Alabama State doesn't have a winning season, but they have a better season than who they're playing. I like that, right? All of them are leading in their conferences in regards to their opponent, so that's another plus for us as well. Um, the data itself, the mathematical data and equations and formulas and everything that goes into it says that there's a high probability that they possibly win as well. Um, you see the spread is highlighted, but we're not talking about the spread in this game. I mean, that's just literally there. That's a possibility that they could get that as well. Again, just some information. If you like it, then you use it however you see fit. But those are the things I'm seeing from that first set of games. For this next set of games, it's like this muddy green, Colgate and Nickel State. I like both of them, mainly because they're outperforming their opponent in all the categories, whether it's points, rebounds, defense, assist. They just run a really good offense, a really good defense, both teams. So they're going to definitely outperform their opponent when it comes to that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could look at it. I mean, even the data says that they're possibly going to win also. They're coming in again with a better record than their opponent. Nichols has an actually winning season so far. And then we also got to take into account everybody's on the road to try to get into March Madness, right? So with that being said, they all are playing extremely high level. Just something to think about. I mean, for what they're paying, if you are a gambler, it's the only one I would look at is Colgate. It wouldn't be worth it for Nickel State unless you added something to it, maybe turn it into a parlay. Because at negative 300, you're going to have something on there to multiply it to bring it out of that negative 300 status. But those two I like. When it comes to the others that don't have a color, I like Delaware State. I like Northern Arizona. And those are the first two that scream out to me. And they're paying decent money if you're into gambling. I also like them both to cover the spread. They're winning and cover the spread. I still like Eastern Shore. Eastern Shore is a pretty good squad. And on top of that, they're dominating in the categories. Gremlin is dominating in the categories as well. They don't have a winning season, but they are a really good team. SWAC has some pretty good talent in there. But I would look into that. That would probably be the way to go for that section. Now, the very bottom, you see where it says plus cheese. Now, there's a reason that I pulled those out specifically is because these are your dogs. These are like you trying to find where are they hidden, how can they pull it off, because if they do, then you are going to be in a good spot, right? So when you look at who would be ideal, I would go with the thought process of Florida A&M, William & Mary, and Iowa State. Those would be the three I think have a really good chance to do an upset. I'm not saying that they will, but in my eyes, they look like the ones that have the better chance of an upset, mainly because they outperform their opponents in the categories: ball handling, assist, blocks, defense, offense, points, three-point attempts, three-pointers, all of the above. These teams are doing that, right? Iowa State doesn't have that type of dominance, but they still are doing pretty good. That's why I like those. But the other two, whether we're talking about Lamar or we're talking about Idaho State, I still think there's a chance for them. but it's not as much as I like for the other teams. But this is where you're looking for your dogs. Where are they at? How can I use them? How can I get them? Those type of scenarios. But again, not a betting channel. If you're into that type of thing, I would be looking at these particular games because they pay the best. They're risky, just like anything in all sports events. Everything is risky, so obviously use your best judgment. But that's what I'll be looking at for the money lines. All right, as we wrap up, we'll run through spreads real quick. For spreads, I look at two different things. Spreads are going to be obviously who can not only win but dominate. It's that simple. If they can win and dominate for whatever reason, whether the other team is experiencing injuries or if they are just a highly dominant team, those type of things. The different conferences that they come from, those play a part. Obviously, the categories of, for this particular sport, are they dominating in those? Those are the factors I'm looking at. Are they have a winning record? Do they have a record that's better than who they have? What's their coach's winning record? All of these things take into place, even down to how fast or how slow the 40-yard dash, speed time of each individual player, combined, average that out. So there's a lot of different things that go into whether or not a team can not only win but dominate, right? But then there are who can do an upset and also use that to your advantage as almost like an insurance, right? Where it's like, well, even if I think they can upset, if I just take the plus spread, then at least in that scenario, I'm in a situation where even if they don't win, as long as the other team don't cover the spread, then you still would technically win, right? Not a betting show. I'm not telling you that to take anything. You take and use whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. But at the same time, with that being said, this is what I would consider, right? So in the top section, I'm looking more so at Colgate and Nichols. I definitely like Southern. I definitely like Delaware State. I'm not excited about Eastern Shore or Grambling for the spreads if I'm into that. I think it's going to be a tight game. It's the MEAC and the SWAC. Both of them have a lot of really great talent. But if I did have to choose between any of those, I would say because the Eastern Shore is winning and has a better record or a better chance in the SWAC. Not a better record, but a better chance in the SWAC. I like Eastern Shore to win if I have to choose that, right? Obviously, you see the spreads over here to your right. Colgate is at 3.5. Southern is at 7.5. I really like the 7.5 because that would definitely speak to how dominant they really are. But the Colgate game is kind of low-hanging fruit, along with the Delaware State is low-hanging fruit also, because the spread is so low. They're around 3.5 points. Grambling, 3.5 points. They have a pretty good offense, or good enough. I think all of these teams, out of this list of 6 teams, I'm thinking 4 of them will reach the spread goal, and that'll be a really good opportunity there. Again, not a betting channel, just telling you my thoughts on the whole thing. And then the other one for the upset spreads, kind of upsets in insurance, I would say I'm looking at probably out of the 4, I like North Texas, Iowa State, and probably Northern Arizona in that order. Actually, I like both the Texas teams. I like both the Texas teams to cover the plus spread because they're the underdogs. I like them as the dog in this fight. But I still like Northern Arizona because they're outplaying their opponent that they're up against in regards to every category. So out of these 4, I would say 3 out of the 4 have a really good chance of actually happening for the plus spread. Just something to think about. As the content continues to grow and I get more feedback, then I'll look at the games a different way and show them to you a different way. And in that way, at least you'll be able to make your own decision about what it is that you would like to do.